Figured I'd try it out. Morning, everybody. Jesus, 6 minutes in. Donovan Standard Time. It's good to see everybody in the chat here. Holy geez, super busy in here. You guys are awesome. All right. Let's put this window up. I want to see what you guys are saying. I put the chat right here. I can see it more than anything. Had to get myself a glass of water. Yeah, I know some guys feel cheated. If you don't know, I just did a cast with Ryan 2 hours on Wednesday about red meat, and not once did I bring up a recipe. Oops. Let's just fix this. I think that's good enough for focus. Right about here. There we go. Yes, I am a little bit late. Morning, guys. Welcome to Red Morning, the happiest morning show on this side of the sphere. 0 amounts of autism, 0 amounts of flexing. I don't rent Lamborghinis. I don't rent girls. I don't pay for simps. I can't think of a rhyme for this one. This is just off the top of my head. I'm not very good at freestyling. And yes, the whole jar. I wanted a mason jar. I usually have mason jars for when I drink. Mostly because my grandparents are ranchers, and my parents are ranchers, and their 4 generations in there. And it was probably the easiest thing to grab drinks from. So, see Philbert in the chat. What's up, you beautiful bastards? It's so good to hear from you. All right. Yeah, the red meat topic, and I think it's a nice little segue too, by the way. Thank you for everybody here who's listening to this on Spotify, iTunes, all the various podcasting platforms. It's good to see you guys. I'll do my best if something visually is happening to explain to you what's going on. So while you're doing your workout, you don't have to wonder what the hell is so funny. Adam, yeah, Rich Cooper. Adam in the chat's asking, I think you're coloring your beard. Rich Cooper sent me a video on how to grow a proper beard. I watched the video, followed the steps, and it's just amazing. And then how to kill friends and influenza people. Hey, coach, when are you and Rich getting your bots? It sounds like it's going to be in 2067. So if you guys don't know, check out. I was on an episode of Before the Train Wreck on Rich Cooper's channel. You'll get the inside joke on that one. But enough about me, enough about you guys. Let's get to the topic at hand. And you're going to love this one. The topic at hand is... I'll try and find it in the chat. Dimitri, he wants me to share the video, but right now I'm kind of busy chatting to you guys, so hopefully somebody in the chat has links to it. Otherwise, you know where to find it. Smash the like button, yada, yada, yada. All right, free speech. Free speech, fighting feminism, and all kinds of pet causes. I love this topic because it is so common and transparent, and it seems like half the people are in on it and half the people aren't in on it. So I'm going to illuminate the other half while calling out the first half right now. Anybody who's old enough to remember like the Bush Junior years, neoconservatives in the States, for us it was Harper. It was kind of like how the 80s had Mulrooney, Thatcher, and Reagan. The 2000s had our guys, and I think it was Tony Blair. I can't remember which. Anyways, so a lot of the conservative types were all against free speech. At that point, terrorism was the enemy du jour, as opposed to now, which is incels. Well, I guess that means we're stepping up as far as like real dangers. And not hearing any of it. Free speech was secondary. And a lot of the guys on the liberal side or the left side of politics were all about free speech. Everybody should be allowed to get married, yada, yada, yada. Ron Paul, 2004. And then we're now in 2020 with a complete flip side of that, with the exception of Trump. And now it's people saying, you will bake that cake and all that crap. And people on the right now are like, you know what, free speech is sacrosanct, yada, yada, yada. There's not really a left and a right in politics. And in sexual strategy, there's no real left or right. There's only two things. There's people who want authority, and there's people who want freedom. They flip back and forth. There's a larger group of people, though, who just want the bullhorn and they use the arguments of free speech as a way to get it. This is what we're talking about now. I'm going to call out just about everybody in the red-pilled space who's red-pilled, wink, wink. Came up with a conversation we're having in our Patreon group. So here's the deal. There is a large group of, I'm going to call them consumers, but audience members, whichever. And while he's not the head of this group, I'm going to use Mike Cernovich as the example. So let's look him up now. What does Mike Cernovich have? I'm just going to use Twitter because it's easy to see an audience on that one. There, 500,000 followers. All right, I'm sure PragerU and Red Pilled Back, Candace Owens, these guys, they all have a fairly interconnected group of an audience. Here's the thing. All these cries for free speech are just a way, it's like a job interview trying to get into that group. So for example, a lot of you guys have noticed, so for red pilled guys, the focus is navigation of the sexual marketplace. It's not about fixing the world. It's not about saving the West. It's not about fighting feminism. Navigating. In other words, the world is the way it is. You're not going to be able to change it. And if you did, the timeline is way too long for you to capitalize on it. So how do you thrive with the current system the way it is for you? Geographically, sexually, all those different reasons. Now, it started to get popular because it turns out a lot of the guys here, I mean, there was lawyers, doctors, military guys, pickup artists, a whole, like, pretty much the entire demographic of men had some kind of representation in there. And a lot of guys were giving field reports. Royce was huge on this. The old Roosh was big on this. Like, guys were literally like, okay, I did this, it worked. I did this, it worked. I did this, it didn't work. Somebody would eventually read 500 guys saying this thing's worked, and this is the Rollo part. You put it all into a condensed form so that way somebody can get an overarching understanding of 500 field reports while only having to read a couple essays. Awesome. Started to get popular because, heaven forbid, things like this worked. Men adapt to the current paradigm of the sexual marketplace. Awesome. Once things have an audience, though, that's where it's kind of weird, because then people started... And there's two groups to this. There's people putting in their pet projects, you know, yeah, I loved sexual strategy, but really I love Jesus. And, or some cases is guys who just want like an audience for monetary reasons and whatever. There's always demographics. You should be able to monetize that. That's fine. The problem comes with there's this large group of disenfranchised conservatives. I think they call them groypers. Somebody else will have to tell me in the chat. I'm not really good with the 4chan lingo. And these guys really found an appeal to Red Pill, not because they liked anything it talked about, but they liked that it made feminists and Karens very angry. And they're like, hey, we hate bitchy soccer moms, and we hate feminists too. These guys are our guys. That enemy of my enemy is my friend thing. It's not true. And then they got it, and they started trying to use this tool for their own ends. And this is where you get... Now, here's the point of this one. The big example you see is when somebody gets blocked from a high important figure or banned from a social media platform, what's the first thing people do? First thing they'll do, red pill guys talking about navigating the sexual marketplace, bitching and moaning about how somebody blocked them, somebody removed them. It's a huge MRA like whining about the injustice of the whole thing. Obviously, they don't really care about free speech because, well, I mean, maybe they do. Let's be generous here. Okay, sure. Free speech advocates. But here's the point. They don't actually want free speech now. The point of that is to give an in-group signal. So, for example, we're going to say Mike's the top of the F pile on this one. Sure. Don't know who is. We could say it's Scott Adams. It doesn't really matter who. I'm just talking about the gatekeepers. That 550,000 people audience follow maybe a dozen people. Those dozen people get to decide who they introduce their audience to, and good for them. That's, I mean, the whole point of having an audience is to recommend things that you enjoy. So these clout chasers will end up, you know, using the red pill nomenclature and then throw up, look, you guys hate Anita Sarkeesian. I hate Anita Sarkeesian. She's blocked me on social media. What a bitch, right? And everybody's like, oh, wow. It's like a job interview. And then, you know, this group slowly starts to retweet them, bring them on their little circuits. this show, that show, and the other thing. And I don't understand it. Like, well, I understand it in a greed sort of way, but it's weird that a lot of these same guys will tell you how corporate jobs are horrible, you hate having to bow to the man, and all that crap. So coming from a background where I've done corporate, I've done military, I've done, big swath of different jobs there. The whole reason I left to do this was because I didn't like the idea of having to suck up to somebody to get what I wanted without that the feeling of dirt on your hands at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Like when I do work, there's a fulfilling need at the end of the day for me to look back and go, wow, I completed this. It's something I could look at it as great. You don't get that in corporate, and you don't get that while you're trying to appeal to bosses. I'm sure everybody here has had a moment where they've had to do a job interview and it feels a lot like you're putting on a show as opposed to actually articulating your skills. I notice it kind of, as you get higher up on the totem pole, it gets less and less, but again, it's the same thing here. So the reason this show is here is to show you these guys doing this stuff. And I'm seeing tons of examples of it. I think as far as and I guess they're not big brands. I don't even want to mention them because it's kind of like bullying at this point. But like Anthony Johnson runs a little convention down in Central Florida. Did the same thing. Huge slander campaign against Rolo. I think it's still going on like 3 years later. It's absolutely ridiculous. Kind of funny. People who have been following for a while kind of know. But the whole point of it was to appeal to guys like Stefan Molyneux and Mike Cernovich. It's kind of lazy if you ask me. I'm like, well, you're just asking somebody to give you an audience, but you're not actually earning it. I see the same thing in other red-pilled platforms, guys who read a Vola, and then they're just trying to get everybody to believe what they believe. It's kind of weird, and it's lazy. So I'm gonna bring this back to a strategy for guys. It's a lot easier and it's a lot simpler to study marketing, to read copywriting and find out how you can make those, Village by the Sea posts where it's like each line is a line, they're an emotional appeal, a sales pitch at the end. I'm sure every one of you guys has seen one of these websites where they have it. It's just a long string of text. Have you ever wanted to this? Have you ever wanted to that? And it's funny because they haven't changed in 80 years. I actually have a book of I think it's called Popular Mechanics. It's like a hobbyist trade magazine from 1948. And you read it, and it looks exactly the same as a lot of this stuff you see online now. So the game hasn't changed. The only difference is back then they were telling you that, you got to do this to stick it to the communists. It was communist instead of feminism. Or as a man, you need to do this. Or, real men play with, and it was like building your own remote control toy boat or carving your own pipe. And it's kind of funny that they haven't changed like this. And then I also laughed because there was a section in there about how women can take better photographs. And it was just chicks taking selfies. And I was like, that's hilarious. Even in the 40s, thought culture was real. The only difference is they were wearing sweaters with bullet bras as opposed to like nothing. Yeah, but it's not Popular Mechanics. Actually, you know what? One sec. There it is. Mechanics Illustrated. My mistake. It's from May 1948. And if you'll look, this is exactly the same as what we got going on now. Replace that speedboat with a video game, and this is exactly the image that they're trying to use to appeal to guys. Quick shout out now, One Man's Way. Thank you for the $10 super chat. Male validation, in my experience, male anonymity online brings out the worst of male nature. And yes, it does, but that's a different topic. But we can touch on that one quickly. A lot of what makes people act somewhat civilized is social repercussion. The problem with anonymity is while it's good if there's a prevailing sentiment and you want to express an opposing sentiment, the anonymity allows you to be honest in the face of overwhelming force one way or the other. The problem with that though is there's a lack of shame and consequence. So people get to say whatever they want. So you're really depending on the the goodwill and the maturity of the person speaking, which unfortunately, I mean, let's face it, most guys are trash. They just are. The Pareto principle, you can call it whatever you want. Most guys are trash and can't be trusted with the responsibility, but it's the price you pay for giving the responsibility to everybody, because it either works for everybody or it doesn't. Yeah. Oh, by the way, back on this one. Just funny again. So articles like how well can you swim? This is the same workout bro stuff that they talked about before. Very funny stuff. Anyways, I'm not going to waste your time on that one. We're talking more about the lie of free speech for clout. Quick shout out now. Raziel Schnitzel, thank you. $10 super chat. He says, off topic, but what books or sources do you recommend for learning the basics of marketing and or online marketing? My side hustle is an online service and I'm looking how to market it myself. Well, I don't know what the best sources are, but what I can do is tell you what sources I've used. All right, not now. Let me get into my Kindle. Oh, so bad. You're not supposed to use dead air on these things too, and I'm doing this. It's horrible, horrible. Quick shout out to Arnold A. Lampold. Thank you for the €2 super chat. Hey, Ryan, what's up? Did you run out of razors? The plan was, I thought this quarantine was only going to be for like a month. I was just going to stop shaving for a month, and then I have a video idea of what I'm going to do. Like once the quarantine is lifted, the gym's open back up, people are going back to work. There was going to be like a montage scene. If you guys ever watched, there's a movie called Long Kiss Goodnight where Charlie the spy finally breaks out of her amnesia and then has like a montage of her prepping back up, looking sexy and shit. And I thought that's really, I like that aesthetic. So the plan was to have me kind of following like, oh, now that the gym's back open, you got to get back into the workout regimens and got to shave all this off, like basically cutting off all the fat. You had your break. Now it's time to get back to work. And the problem was now it's gone forward for like, I don't know, a month, and it's going to go for like 2 or 3 months. So at this point, I'm kind of committed to it. What's going to happen in the next month is the mustache is going to start handlebarring. It gets long as hell. And I don't know. I've never actually grown a beard for that long. So we'll see what happens. I'm not particularly a fan of it, but whatever. Back to Raziel Schnitzel. So for marketing, first thing I did is just, I mean, there's tons of free online resources. You look at people doing things. There's like drop shipping, email marketing. And I'm like, okay, so I get like a basic idea of what they do. It's good enough to start with. Email lists, I actually got that from a guy who's called Breathe TYB. I'll put his link to his Twitter in the chat. Guys, don't harass him. Just, he's got stuff on his account. Just, I think is how you spell it. He's been doing that for a while. And so he's a really good resource. And unlike, he's not in drop shipping or any of that crap. He's actually like, it's part of his profession. But the one thing I liked that I learned from him was that with your email list, you can't just like ramble, run your mouth, and then everything works out. No, it's like you have to have like a purpose to this. So the way he explained to me the concept of funnels. And if you haven't heard about funnels, it's a really, I actually like it, and the audience tends to like it. So you got 3 parts. You got a top funnel, middle funnel, bottom funnel. The top funnel is just name recognition. You want people to know who you are, and you want to drive them to one place. Whatever you're driving to, something free and something that has value for them. Adriel, I saw your $2 super chat, and he said, do I've ever seen a white knight win? I've never seen a white knight win, ever. So top of the funnel, if you're going to do any picking fights or any beef or any red meat, that's where that goes. And then for his email list system, he just said, okay, so the only link you provide is one to your email list. And that's where guys can go to see more about you. Maybe some guys have a YouTube channel. Maybe some guys have a blog. That's the idea, is you want to push people to the middle of the funnel. So people who know who you are and they're just there for the drama, they stay at the top of the funnel. They're more than happy to do that. That's the investment they want to give. Good for them. Middle of the funnel is where you show that I know what the hell I'm talking about. So that's, like I said, all this stuff in here is free. As much value delivery as you can get. This is technically a middle of a funnel activity if you wanted to think about it that way. I come here, I talk about sexual strategy, I do videos, I write blogs, all that stuff. Then at the end of these things, you can always add, and then that's where you go to bottom of the funnel. And that's if you have somebody who actually wants to sell something. The idea being, top of the funnel is to teach them who you are. You put them to the middle of the funnel where you can show them you know what you're talking about. And then if If guys are just fine learning what you've taught them there, they stay in the middle of the funnel, and good for them. They're getting exactly what they want. I want to see a guy discussing this stuff, teaching me something, and then learning what I can. Awesome. People who maybe want a little bit more, then that's the bottom of the funnel. So for example, and this is going to be fun. Putting it in the chat now. If you guys like the content, smash that like button. Follow the link below to take you to the Amazon page where my new book, Fuck Files. 15 lessons from 10 years of pickup. But that's the bottom of the funnel stuff. And that's like, okay, you guys have loved this content. If you want more, I've got even more. More, it's always got to be more. Like you don't, and it's weird, like a majority of the stuff that you have is valuable. You keep it in front of the paywall. Like it's totally counterintuitive, but you want to put your best stuff available for everybody. And then depending on what you're doing, maybe you've got new material. Maybe you're like, okay, this is the cutting edge stuff that's unproven. You can come into this. Maybe it's like, I want to be an e-thought. They're big on one-on-one time. I'll tell you, you look very cute in that shirt. That's all bottom of the funnel stuff. And then that's where you go afterwards. So that was the simple process of what he taught me. And I like it because I'm tired of seeing everybody spamming things constantly over like Twitter. I try not to. I've been doing the book, but I'm proud of it. So screw it, whatever. Another book you're going to like is one from Rory Sutherland called Alchemy. It's a great book on what he calls psychologic. So he came from a British marketing agency. Think of like a British Don Draper. And he found out that logic and rationale is horrible from a marketing perspective. His argument being that logic wasn't actually invented or wasn't, I don't want to say discovered. Logic isn't used to discover the outside world. It's just not. He says logic is used to convince people of whatever emotional decisions you've already made. And that kind of was like a game changer. Then you realize, okay, so I understand. Like I can't just sit here and give you guys wonderful logical arguments. Like there's parts of storytelling to that. But those were the two big ones as far as marketing goes. I hope that helps you. The rest of it is mostly like skill-based stuff. So for example, if I'm doing a YouTube video, it's essentially writing a speech and putting a thing to it. So I did a lot of research on video editing, cinematography, speech writing. Simon Lancaster's got some great books on that. And yeah, hopefully that's enough for you to work with. I'm going to get back to the topic there. Did I run out of razors? Actually, Arnold, back to your thing where you asked if I ran out of razors. I've actually still got a box of Astra blades in my thing there. So, and one of my birthdays, my old lady got me a $600 German plated safety razor, and I don't use it anymore because now I just stick with like a couple days of growth. So I'm kind of looking forward to using it again. But we're going to be back. And that's the thing. So this is kind of like on point here too. So all this marketing stuff I just told you about, every one of the brands talking about how they want to fight feminism and how they want to like free speech, they're all using this stuff. So whether they appreciate the concept of free speech or not, whether they actually want to fight feminism or not, it's still all being placed in this funnel system. And it's done because it works. It works really well. Now there's two ways you can do this. There's emotional appeals and then there's value added appeals. The beard suits me very alpha. I always sport a beard. Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know if it's a beard yet. It's kind of still a little bit short, but whatever. Glad you like it. Yeah, so you've got emotional appeals, and that's the ones that tie into your limbic brain. That's the ones that build conflict. You hate feminism? Sign up to my newsletter. Come to my convention. We're going to fight feminism. We're going to bring back the patriarchy. Patriarchy has zero meaning, by the way. You ask 10 people what it means, you're going to get 12 different answers. Patriarchy is what I call a container word. And if you haven't seen it, I got a link on my blog to a post called Alpha Males and Container Words. It's to articulate the idea of emotional manipulation through wordplay. The idea of patriarch is a box. And inside that box, you put all your emotions and feelings. It feels noble. It feels, empowering. And it feels strong, tough. All those feelings you get from it. And you put that in your box and you write patriarch on the outside of it. Seal the box. You throw it at somebody's feet. And then you demand that they look at your box the way you look at your box. The problem is Their box of patriarch full of totally different things. Maybe she's a hardcore feminist. If her patriarch is about like evil oppressors, or maybe you're just some guy who's like patriarch means like my dad who never paid too much attention, but he was really strict and he worked all day. Like everybody's box is filled with something different. But that's the problem, is that they're all filled with emotions and feelings. So as long as you wrap a container around the box, or around it, make it a box, everybody else will latch onto it. And the part I don't like about this is the more vague you are, the more effective it is. For example, we're going to use fight feminism because that's the 21 convention mantra that they use. Fighting feminism by wearing hats. What does that mean? How do you fight feminism? What's the goal? Take it from a warfare perspective. What's the operational outcome that you're looking for? Once you're finished fighting feminism, what? Girls go back to the 1950s? I hate to tell you this, but the girls in the 1950s were drunk all the time, getting high off of Xanax and Ativan. And they weren't particularly happy, and there was still a lot of horrible situations happening. It just sounded better than what we have now because nobody can remember it. How would you even fight? What are the tools? Who are the people on there? No, there's nothing to it. That's the point. And the less articulate they are about fighting feminism, the more effective it is, because in a guy's mind, he's got his container of feminism. And it's full of like Karen and, again, other container words. Karen, it's a container word. So these guys are selling emotional feels and validations through container words. And this is why free speech is another one of those container words when they're used. Free speech, for the most part, when you're seeing guys spurg on about it online, is people arguing that they want to be never told, like, nobody gets to tell me what to do. That's essentially it. And if you're arguing with a liberal, it's because you want to get them to block you or ban you to take that scalp back to your conservative audience. If you're arguing with a conservative, it's the same thing. You want them to spurg out and start quoting Bible verses at you so you can take it to your progressive or liberal friends and argue that your free speech is better than theirs. It's just a cudgel to beat somebody over the head with. So back to the question and back to the topic. The other way of doing this is value added. I think of a lawyer. I know lawyers get a lot of flack, but essentially a lawyer is there so you don't have to read books and books and books of legal concepts and understand law. They're there as a technical expert of the material. They can advise you, and you can take that advice and use that to make legal decisions on your own behalf. Picture a lawyer doing an email list. He provides you with some legal concepts. He talks about case law, brings up all this stuff. And hey, if you want to know more, my office is right here. Come down. You go down there, and what is he promising? Usually the lawyer's promising whatever your legal troubles are, I can advise you on the best way to handle them based on what your outcomes are looking to be. So you know exactly what he's offering. It's not a container word. It's value add. And if you don't need that, well, then you don't get it. But if you do need that, then you know where to find him. And he is very articulate. Rule Zero Dad, a great example. Awesome lawyer in this one. Oh, Carl's main plate at the current disease. Very sad. Yeah, and see, Nick, perfect example too. He's talking in chat here. Patriarchy is the kid wearing his dad's suit that's 10 sizes too big. Review of the week. Review bra is patriarchy. But that's the thing. To Nick or most normal functioning guys, yeah, patriarchy is just a bunch of dudes pretending to be 1940s, GIs. But to one of those guys like a Noah Ravoy or God knows how many other patriarchs that are online, they take it seriously. They treat it as like the most noble thing in the world. But they're assuming that your box needs to look like their box, and they're going to try and sell a lot of guys on it. So it's really kind of bad. Adro Ramos, thank you for the $5 super chat. Money to buy some Gillette razors for your beard. Explain that marketing plan. Well, that's it, Gillette. All right. So let's put aside the fact that some people are just bad at marketing. A lot of business now, and this is kind of based on, partially on Venkatesh Rao, but there's a ton of stuff on the corporate office stuff. Like most companies succeed in spite of their best efforts. So for marketing teams, they don't even care about marketing or signals in that. And marketing, for the most part, is just an expensive signal to the audience. And this actually comes out of Alchemy, the Rory Sutherland book. Advertisements, it doesn't matter if the advertisement talks about the benefits of a product or the value of a product or the goodness of a brand. That doesn't matter. The medium is the message. The fact that you're willing to spend $1 million for a 30-second Super Bowl ad sends a very expensive signal. From a marketing perspective, it's the same thing as buying your girl a wedding ring to show that you're committed to her. So what happened is a lot of marketing teams kind of use marketing as their pet ideology cudgel, and they bash people ahead of it because companies don't care. I can spend $10 billion on an ad campaign, and that shows you, okay, this guy and this company is willing to waste $10 billion on something that's not helping his bottom line. Surely he must be raking in the dough. And it kind of gives them an air of credibility. And it's the same thing. It's exactly the same reason why guys pose with rented Lambos or actual Lambos. All just social signaling. Now Gillette, the marketing team kind of knew who buys razors. Guys don't buy razors because guys are lazy. Their wives go and buy razors. So for Karens and a bunch of girls that are just angry at their husbands and they hate their husbands, but they still go and they do this household stuff. Hey, how about I tell you your husband is trash for 30 seconds, then you come buy a Gillette razor, and they love it because it resonates with how they're feeling. Again, it's that emotions, it's that container word. Boys will be boys, men will be men is their container word, and it's full with my husband is trash. Again, Arnold A. Lample, thank you for the €5 super chat. What happened to Rich's Facebook page? It really got trolled hard by feminists and knights lately, and literally every profile would fit the descriptions. Yeah, it's weird. They talked about it a bit, but I just know. So clearly somebody has taken a personal interest in attacking Rich. It's very clear from the amount of prolonged hate he's getting. And eventually they make a bunch of reports. Facebook keeps blocking the page or banning the page. I don't know too much about the details of it, but yeah, it's kind of that emotional thing. And for Rich, it works out well because the kind of people that hate Karens and middle-aged soccer moms, which is basically the demographic he's talking to anyway. Here's how you don't get into those situations. Before the train wreck, handling divorce. Basically, how to distance yourself from crap women. So for him, it kind of works out well because the kind of person who doesn't like those people see that they don't like Rich, and it gives him a top-of-the-funnel opportunity to let them know about better content. So good for him. Hate comes from below. Brigades happen. Yeah, it's... where'd I leave off then on the mask thing? So anyways, yeah, marketing. Value is different. So the lawyer value is like something for your best interest. And I much prefer that product as opposed to the emotional ones because getting paid for having somebody resonate with how they feel with what you're selling, I think is horribly manipulative. It's essentially gambling. It's the same. It's not gambling, but it's the same emotional connection to it. You hit the one-armed bandit, the lights blink, the things shine, lots of noises. You get that dopamine reward. Video games and loot boxes, same thing. You give us money, we put a bunch of blinky things online, we give you a fancy skin. It's gambling. And these emotional funnels are exactly the same thing. Oh, I hate feminism. Oh, I can't get laid. Oh, this guy's an alpha male. That's awesome. He's feeling like how I want to feel. And he tells you, you guys are awesome. You're like, yeah, I'm awesome. Here's $50. Yeah, here's my e-course on how to be awesome. The trick is to be awesome. Buy a Lamborghini. Sell some more cam whores. And you're like, yeah. And then you leave, and it's kind of like jerking off in your living room. You're just like, I don't really feel very good after that. I think I kind of wasted my money, but a lot of guys are kind of embarrassed, so they don't want to talk about it because... Like, I basically bought a course on how to be an alpha male, and his friends will laugh at him, so he just doesn't mention anything. He just suffers quietly, which is why a lot of these things last as long as they do, by the way. The embarrassment of guys who get hoodwinked keeps them from getting bad reviews, which lets other people know from their signals whether it's worth it or not. So that's kind of funny. One Man's Way, another $10 super chat. Thank you very much, brother. Is this the same sort of thing as chicks who screenshot a convo with a guy blocking him and share it with her wall, pointing out her emotional disagreements? I see this a lot. It is absolutely the same thing. And there's a reason that it's the same thing. Women are emotions. They filter their stuff from the limbic brain through their mouth. Their mouth does the processing, and then it goes in the frontal lobe for rationalization afterwards. It's just how it works. This is why women are the primary consumers, because emotions are what sell things. Your frontal lobe is focused on benefits and, opportunity costs and drawbacks. Emotional center is just based on feeling. And that's why a lot of these guys, when you just trigger people, you're specifically trying to avoid their frontal lobe. You don't want them thinking, you just want them feeling, because people who feel spend money. And that's why women spend 80 or 90% of the disposable income. Karen is the economy, I hate to tell you. It's getting caught on the chat here. James Hetfield. I don't even know who James Hetfield is. Jack's saying I'm tapping into my inner one of him. So I'm going to see. I'm going to quick search to see if I need to get mad at you or not. Oh, Metallica? Oh, boy. You could tell I was a grunge guy where I'm like, who? Metallica who? All right, my bad on that one. I should have probably known that. All I remember was Lars because of his big Napster thing. Yeah, my bad. What can I say? Soundgarden, Stone Temple Pilots, Smashing Pumpkins. I was in that side of things. I was never into Metallica or Guns N' Roses or any of those guys. Ooh, and then Alec in the chat here. I just watched the 21Con 2019 video. Weird looking dudes. Yes, they are. But whatever. We're not talking about them. We're talking about you guys. So 35, 40 minutes in, what's the takeaway from you? I kind of briefly explained how marketing funnels work, how emotional outrage works to build sales and bypass the frontal lobe, how people are using free speech and feminism like marketing cudgels. So what do you do about this stuff? Well, one, it works. So understand, it's not so much about taking a moral stance against it. It's about using it in a way you can live with. Like I use a lot of these same marketing tools. I have a tweet list out there saying 7 ways to be a beautiful woman. You know, be thin, cook, don't cut your hair, whatever. So I get it. But the difference is I try to attach as much value to it as possible once I do have somebody's attention through those limbic brain, top of the funnel marketing tactics. John from Modern Life Dating, another great example of it. Looks like an absolute clown on the front end. And then once you get into his middle, he actually starts providing some pretty damn good content. So it's just it's the way the game is played. And if you want to play, for example, the guy earlier on with the super chat who's getting into service-based marketing, you're going to have to play a little bit. So you got to hold your nose and do it. The difference is you're smart enough and you're savvy enough to know when it's being done to you, so you can make that conscious decision whether you want to opt into it or not. So for example, Michelle, are you asking women to learn how to cook so they can learn a basic life skill? Oh my God. But yeah, that's the thing. So you got these skills and maybe somebody's feeding you a work, and that's fine. You can tell, like, they don't really believe it. Do you think AJ really cares about half the stuff he says? He doesn't really care. Anthony doesn't care. None of these guys actually care about what they're talking about. They're just using it to get money from customers. But if the message and the content behind the message is somewhat valuable to you, or you can see yourself improving in some way by following it, then sure, you get that. Okay, I get it. You're doing the emotional thing. It's the red meat that the audience needs, but I actually do like the product, so I'll opt in. But you need to be a savvy, I guess, customer. I don't want to say customer, but I can't think of a better word. A savvy enough customer to tell the difference between a work and emotional manipulation. So the big difference here is you get to opt into this stuff, and it's no different than sexual dynamics. You're going on a date with a girl and she talks about astrology and her MBTI sign. Oh yeah, I'm a Sagittarius and la 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 la, and I'm ETNFJ, and you guys can have this huge great talk about, you know, that stuff. You don't actually believe it, and she knows you don't believe it, but it's a work. You just want to have something to build some rapport and a commonality with. And so you guys both kind of opt into the lie because it serves both your best interests. She gets validation and you get to smash. Awesome. And that's the way it should be. And that's why it's called game. Because it is a game. And marketing is no different than sex. It's just a game. So I hope you guys kind of put that lesson together. These things are unscripted, so I hopefully don't ramble too much. But I've noticed the chat is blown up. I cannot keep up with what you guys are talking about. MBTI and astrology is real. Oh, geez. Yeah, and Job has a good point here too. He says, "I think you can advertise with the facts, but only if they back the desired emotional needs." I want to say so, but so far everybody that I've talked to and everything that I've seen work kind of says otherwise. Like, I'll put it this way. If you guys don't know, well, I'm sure you know, I've been talking about it constantly. I got a book, Buck Files, 15 lessons, 10 years with women. It's in fine Amazon bookstores now. Paper copy, paperbacks are coming out soon, hardcover shortly afterwards, audiobook once it's ready. Yeah, and so I know if I didn't have a brand attached and I just put this book out, nobody knew who I was, nobody would buy it. Nobody. Doesn't matter if it's the best written thing in the world. The reason that has gotten even an option to be as popular as it is, which I think it's still number 3 in the new bestsellers, which is awesome. I'm right behind some like New York Times ladies. I have no idea if that's good or not, but it sounds cool. But all that like crap with Anthony Johnson and that Spurg out there, or the gay lube oil one, or, you know, blocked by this guy, or angry by this guy, or soccer mom's yelling at me, all that stuff, none of you guys would know who I was if I didn't have that stuff there. And I don't mean that as like a knock to anybody. It's just the truth. Attention is very hard to get nowadays. And so you kind of have to have some measure of red meat to get it. It's just the way the game works. But once people do know who I am, they get a chance to see a lot of the concepts. Like guys in the chat here, for example, Real Zero Dad and I, we've been working on this stuff together with like hundreds of other guys for years. It's solid. We know what we're doing. We've done it. We've replicated a multiple amount of times. Like, we know what we're doing. And logically, it makes perfect sense. But none of you guys would care if it wasn't for that other stuff. So that other stuff brings people here. And then once guys are here, they see, oh my God, there's actually more to this than just spurging out like a moron on the internet. And then they stick around. And then that's how these things happen. So yeah, you do need a logical, a rational, or a value add somewhere. But you got to play the game. It's no different than dating. Your burden of performance is always going to be real. And as much as I have to hold my nose to do it as much as anybody. But if you don't do it, nobody's going to care. So how much resolve do you guys have? When you use Job here as the example, or whoever here is starting their own little businesses, how far are you willing to go to make sure you get what you need to get? If you're starting an online business, how far are you willing to go to make sure it thrives? Are you willing to go far enough to make sure that your product is valuable, that your service is good, that your message is clear, well thought out, it's proper, it provides value to the audience? Most people aren't even willing to do that. They just shill guerrilla mindset fuel and call it a day. Are you willing to actually make what you're doing good and valuable? Second thing, are you willing to take some lumps in order to get known? That's the other one. Again, a lot of people, really good products, really good books, really good information, lots of really cool stuff. Sometimes, and by products, sometimes it's just hearing your story. Somebody wants to send out a memoir. Are you willing to actually like get in the ring and get some attention going? Be a little bit of peacocking. Are you willing to do that? Well, if you're not willing to do that, you're probably not willing to succeed either. So again, it's the question. How far are you willing to go to get what you want out of life? One Man's Way, again, $5 super chat. Beliefs are tied to emotion, and I learned today that emotion is tied to sales. Very well then. And yeah. But and I guess I'm going to spell it out just so I'm clear on this. Emotion is sales, yes. I take the approach that using emotions to build any type of traction is a beneficial bait and switch. I can't really think of a better way to put it right now. I'd have to wordsmith something together. Essentially, you're selling people on your red meat. Then once they buy it, you're like, oh, by the way, I'm not actually going to give you just outrage culture. Here's something valuable. Most bait and switches are the complete opposite way. If you ever watch, there's like a huge outcry against Thoughts again because now they're bitching, complaining that you're not giving them enough money. That's the opposite of a bait and switch. The girl's all very nice and sweet. Oh, you're very cute. Oh, I'd love to have something together with you. Can you send $300? And then when they don't send it, she freaks out. That's a negative bait and switch. And I figure if that's so effective on thirsty guys with online Twitch streamers, why could you not use that, make it beneficial, and provide the same value for the other people? Now, it's whether it's right or it's wrong, I don't know. It's the approach I'm taking, and it's the approach that other red-pilled guys are taking, and it seems to be working. So thank God for that. Like I said, I don't know if you probably have already known this before now. You've been with me long enough, you've a very savvy audience. I know it's cliche to fluff your own audience, but yeah, you guys are very savvy. And I remember it was an argument, one of those red meats with this guy, Pat Stedman. If you guys don't know who he is, consider yourself lucky. He's a goof. He just kept going off about how everybody else was low IQ and horrible this and bad people that, shitting on me. And I'm like, dude, the one thing that I learned working for others and for myself, don't lie to your audience and don't insult your audience. And he's done both. He didn't like that, but whatever. It got some engagement, got some clout, and it got people to read, the essays I wrote, for example, on sex and violence, the two non-fungible measures of what makes a man. So I'm like, all right, it's good enough. Let me see where I can catch up with the chat here. And when you're a billionaire, you can grow organic sheep for fun. That's the thing. Ooh, back to Chesty, though. You got the perfect example. Rule 0 is the red pill concept, and it absolutely is. A lot of you guys may not know, and I can't remember whose channel has it today. I think it's John. John's hosting Rule 0 today. We left that other podcast, which now has like 12 viewers, and 11 of them are you guys coming back telling us how bad it is. But we thought, okay, let's make a new one. We got the gang back together. Rich is back in the fold. Rolo's here. John, me, Troy. Let's do one. And like, what should we name it? And I'm like, you know what? Everybody's naming everything red something. And I think it's kind of ridiculous. Yes, I know you're on red morning right now, but I was there first. So why don't we just take Rule 0? And the guys are like, what's Rule 0? I'm like, oh, the greatest concept ever. It's been on every red-pilled subreddit, and it's the best way to articulate who belongs in the space versus who doesn't. It's Rule 0 is, are you there for the benefit of male sexual strategy and positive identity? Doesn't matter what goes on. Insults will happen. Arguments will happen. Everything will happen. So long as you're there for that one core reason, everything else is fungible. But that's the one like non-negotiable. And so I thought that would be awesome. Guys are going to come here. We're not going to be fighting feminism. We're not going to be arguing about owning the libs or any of that nonsense. We're just literally here for male sexual strategy, to make other guys' life better in a social situation. That means make yourself more attractive to women, make yourself more, attractive to men, charismatic to everybody, sexually successful, financially successful, male strategy. And everything is sexual, essentially. So I thought that's awesome. And they're like, I like the name. And then Rolo worked up the thing, and that's how we got into it. But that's one of the, I don't want to say a core principle, but if you're not on board with that, then you're not red-pilled. If you're just here to build clout and like, who was that one chick? Red Pill Black, who's now Candace Owens? Not Rule 0. She just wanted clout. Then once she got it, she ditched everything, did her own thing. Same with Flamenco. I don't know. Most of those like factual feminists and all that stuff, they all were very red-pilled till they get some clout. And then all of a sudden now they're on their own. It is what it is. Good on them. It's nice to know that the red pill is kingmakers, but whatever. Yeah. All right. So we're coming on. What are we on for time here? 49 minutes. We're going to keep this one short. I actually have a video I'm going to be releasing, I'm hoping Sunday. And I'm a little behind on it. It's taken a lot of work, and I've actually had to work on some special effects stuff. So we're going to cut this one short after an hour. So if you guys get any questions, you got 10 minutes, throw them in the chat right now. Super chats, I'll be able to actually catch them. With these other ones, it's hit or miss. It's just a long stream of text for me, so I miss a lot of it. On that note, so to recap. Free speech guys, anti-feminist guys, they don't want what they say they want. They want clout. They want to tie into people's emotional circuits in order to push products on them. The problem with that, the only problem I have with that, is they don't actually offer anything of value. They just try to get the guy's value as any way they can. other than providing a valuable service. And so take what you learn from them in the same way that we learned a lot from thought culture. Take the good parts of it, apply it to your own life, become savvy enough so you aren't manipulated into it, and then learn to use it in a beneficial way for you and those around you. Another $10 super chat, Mysterium Lugosi. Ryan, I'm a fragrance reviewer. Would you mind sharing what colognes you wear? All right, I've got two. First one I have is a Prada. I wish I could remember the name of the thing. It's just like a purple liquid comes in a bottle. I first got that when I was in the Middle East. And it's just one of those things. I don't know so much if I prefer the scent over anything. I like it. I'm not really articulate on the notes of this and that and the other thing, but a lot of people don't have it, so it's kind of unique to me. Like, I don't see a lot of people that use it. And it's a smell that I've had over time. I kind of like the idea of, some guys are like, I like a summer smell and a winter smell and a bar smell. I'm like, I'd rather just have a smell that you would associate with me. So that cologne tends to be the one, and I'll wear it when I go out. And that's the one that, oh, that smells like Ryan. And lately, though, because of this stupid quarantine stuff, everybody's caught at home. And I know the last thing you want to do if you're stuck at home and you have to work is start working in your pajamas, stop taking showers, getting lethargic. I'm like, screw that. And a lot of guys are doing that, and a lot of guys have nothing to show for the last month and a half of effort. So I'm like, I'm going to buy something just like a daily cologne. I don't want to wear my expensive stuff for just sitting around the house, but I want to do something. Get dressed, do proper showers, like have the routines down so that way I don't fall into that pit of laziness like other people do. So I picked up, and this one from H&M. It's like a leather one. It's all heavy on the top notes. It's just like vanilla and tobacco. I'm like, all right, good enough. It's okay, I guess. Like I said, it's kind of like not very subtle, but whatever. It smells like cookies. Doug Chisholm, thank you. $10 super chat. No comment involved. That's too bad. We've talked before. Doug's a good man. You guys, you're going to see him crushing it in the next 30 days. I mean, he's already kind of crushing it, but you're going to see him crushing it even more so. Colonel Sanders. Hey, I remember you from Rich's stream. Chef Ryan, expletive, YouTube. Your shows are needed. Thank you very much, Colonel Sanders. Funny thing, so when I was on before the train wreck with Rich, we were talking about simping. And it was something I noticed that was very funny. So every guy's simped at some point in his life. You have to learn it the hard way. It's just the way it is. And so I'm like, all right, so I did some examples of when I was simping in my youth, like when I was like a teenager, and then how I got over it. A lot of guys were doing their same stories. And it was something I noticed. Simping used to be something that kids did as teenagers, and then they got over it when they realized it sucked. But today, guys didn't learn or didn't have the opportunity to fail, and they're simping well into their 30s. So we're like, ugh. Clearly the lesson here is somebody has failed them along the way during their formative years, and that's where a lot of this simp culture comes from. It's literally guys that are stunted. But it was neat. Yeah, the Colonel and we had a great chat about it. It was awesome. Go check it. Before the train wreck, Rich Cooper, myself, well worth it. Mysterium Lugosi, $5 super chat. Thank you very much. That's the perfect job interview fragrance. Great for the office. I love Prada Amber Pour Homme. Prada Amber Pour Homme. Great choice. The amber one. I don't know the amber one. I wish, actually, you know what? I'm just going to look it up now. I'm sure it can't be that hard to find. Oh. Yeah, just Prada Pour Homme. That's the one I got. Prada for Men. Although I didn't get the Eau de Toilette. This is going to sound weird. All right, so if you guys don't know, there's a difference between cologne and Eau de Toilette. And it has to do with the strength of it. So a proper cologne, has the most concentrated scents to it. It's the strongest one, it lasts the longest. And then you get something, what's an Eau de Toilette, if you don't know what that is, which is like a toilet water is what it translates to, but it's fainter. Think of it like the difference between hard liquor and wine. Maybe that's something for you to realize. And that's why your guys will see that Eau de Toilettes are usually cheaper than proper colognes. We'll see. Like I said, I'm not a pro at this stuff. I just know little bits about little bits. But that's kind of neat. Geez, yeah, they got a ton of it. That's crazy. As far as using that for your sexual strategy, it's a nice to have, but it's really an accoutrement. It's not the kind of thing that's going to make or break. Like, oh, I would have banged that 10 if it wasn't for me not wearing the right cologne. It's never going to happen. But if you're one of those guys that takes care in his appearance and tries to be deliberate with it, and yeah, I know I'm wearing just like a crappy Henley right now, but I'm talking in general. Those detail oriented style elements matter. There's a reason why the saying is that girls will look at a man's shoes before they look at him. A lot of guys will wear, and I see this downtown all the time, guys working in the financial district with me wearing really nice suits, but then they have rubber-toed, saddle-stitched, cheap Walmart shoes, and it completely ruins their $1,000 suit. So the kind of guy who's willing to put this attention to detail, and it's an expensive signal. It's like an $80 bottle of cologne. You have that smell, and it shows that you're switched on enough about your appearance that you can throw away $80 on a cologne and not really flinch about it. Or you can wear a $500 pair of shoes and it doesn't really matter. It's those little details, and they'll appeal to certain demographics. Like you being able to wear a proper suit will appeal to the kind of girls that are attracted to men in suits. You being able to put on like proper rocker gear will attract rocker chicks. It's all about signaling to certain groups what you're trying to do. For example, this is again, there's a store in Montreal called Siemens. It's like spelled Simmons. This is just cheap Henley from them, $30. It's casual, and it's signaling to you guys this is more of like a casual, informal chat. If this was a news source, or if it was something very formal, or if you were paying like big money to come here, I'd probably be dressed up a lot differently. But everything tends to be a deliberate choice. Even my background, all these choices are deliberate. It's all to signal to you guys kind of what you're in for. I want to be congruent as possible. I would hate to be one of those guys that talks about being a leader of men and then films it from his mom's basement. It'd be absolutely ridiculous. All right, look at you guys. Dude, actually, this is kind of nice. I like seeing in the chat right now, if you guys don't know, everybody is chatting about colognes and styling products and that. Oh, Eau de Parfum, thank you very much. It's great seeing guys have a little bit of an attention to detail, and they just give a shit about their appearance. It's awesome. All right. As soon as I smelt 1 million on a teenager, I threw it straight out. I don't know what that means. All right. Anyways, so I'm going to close this one up. I'm going to quickly work on that video, and then we got Rule Zero, John's channel, in an hour and a half. I can't remember what the topic is on that one. We'll have to check. Either way. But either way, guys, thank you so much for tuning in so far. Again, to all the guys in the super chats, especially One Man's Way, you guys are awesome. Keep doing solid work. I want you guys to stick around in the chat. We'll talk about perfume for a little bit here, perfume and hair products. But on that note, I'll catch you guys on the next one.